You know, when you come across a random film on TV and you don't know a thing about the plot or who made the film, but it has this lasting kind of impression on you? Yeah. That was me coming across Memento, Inception, and Interstellar for the first time in my early teens. I had no idea who Christopher Nolan was at the time, but as I came across more and more of his work, I started to take mental notes of the style and format of these films. And if you've ever seen a Christopher Nolan film, they all reek of his signature, which comprises of very weird, non-linear storytelling, an uncompromising use of practical effects, sharp but very, very clever scene transitions. And yeah, to put it plainly, over the past 10 years, I've become obsessed with Christopher Nolan. He is truly, that was kind of scary, wasn't it? He is truly my favorite director of all time. He's a true auteur because him and his brother Jonathan write the scripts and then Christopher Nolan directs them. So his projects are really his own from concept to screen, and not every director can say that for the majority of their filmography, even the greatest directors, okay? So Christopher Nolan's that guy. That's all I can really say. But every one of Nolan's 12 films, except for Insomnia, were written, directed, and produced by Christopher Nolan, alongside his brother and his wife, Emma Thompson. They're keeping that in the family for real. And I don't know, I think it's just a really cool thing. It's like how independent films are made, where the filmmaker is wearing all the hats and taking on all the responsibility. But in Nolan's case, it's like an indie film just on a bigger scale, which I don't know, I just love it. I love it. But yeah, I could probably go on praising Christopher Nolan for an eternity, but what I really want to talk about is Interstellar because it turns 10 years old today. So I thought, why not take the opportunity to wish Interstellar a happy birthday and dive into what makes it such a great film a decade later. And realistically, it'll probably be well regarded a century from now as well, right? But yeah, for those of you who have not seen or have never heard about Interstellar, it's truly one of the coolest, most inventive, and emotionally taxing space films ever made, in my humble opinion. The film takes place over the course of multiple years, really, because there's wormholes and there's time dilation, but 2067 is the starting point, and we see Earth and humanity about to face extinction because these global dust storms have damaged nearly all agriculture and have essentially rendered Earth uninhabitable. But lucky for humanity, there's a savior named Joseph Cooper who very reluctantly joins a team of researchers on their expedition through a wormhole. And they do this in order to locate, I think it's about 3 potentially habitable planets that are orbiting a black hole named Gargantua. It's not an extremely complicated plot, and I say that not understanding it 100%, but it's more so the intricate details and the science, I think, that trip people up. And a lot of critiques about Interstellar are based on the film's central theme of love and how it transcends space and time. A lot of people don't dig that for some reason, and I sort of agree. I can see why it comes off as corny, but at the same time, it's real as because truthfully, what kind of major sacrifice has ever been made without the element of love or empathy involved, right? If you think of every superhero, if you think of every major hero that has ever sacrificed their life, that has ever put their life on the line, it's because of empathy, it's because of love, it's because they care, right? In Interstellar, Cooper is sacrificing not only himself, but he's leaving behind 2 children, okay? One of which desperately beg him not to go. And Cooper endures this guilt and pain of leaving and likely dying out of love for his children and for all of humanity, right? He's trying to save the world. So the theme of love is pretty powerful in this context, and I've not seen a film that embraces sacrifice on such a large scale other than Interstellar. If you could find something that tops Cooper's sacrifice, maybe apart from Jesus' sacrifice in The Last Temptation of Christ, let me know, okay? But Interstellar's sentimentality is only one of many things that make it such a good film. In my opinion, these are the top 5 reasons that I think make Interstellar so amazing. It's so good. I want to go watch it right now, probably after this video. Reason number 1 are the visual and practical effects, which Interstellar rightfully won an Academy Award for in 2015. This is probably one of the biggest reasons why I love Interstellar so much. Because all the brainstorming that went into building these physical sets, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant. Christopher Nolan's about to turn me British up in here. Nolan literally planted 500 acres of corn to achieve as much authenticity as possible. Who does that? I think the guy who did Superman, I don't know his name, but I think he inspired Christopher Nolan to do that, but Christopher Nolan did it better, and then he also turned a profit after, which of course he did, because he's him. And he also constructed a physical set with crazy projectors to make the Tesseract, which in the film is a hyper-cubic, multi-dimensional space. I know that seems wordy, but that's literally what it is. And he filmed it all without CGI, which is the coolest thing ever when you see the scene for yourself. You know what, actually? Let me run that up for you. Let me run that scene up for you guys so you can see what the I'm talking about. Look at this. No CGI. What? Oh my god, man, that's nuts. The second reason why I think Interstellar is so good is because of the scientific accuracy and the attention to detail. And again, I'm not gonna act like I understood the science behind everything going on, but Nolan had Kip Thorne, a theoretical physicist, consulting on the script, and they even predicted what a black hole would look like before a real life image had ever been captured, which is pretty nuts, right? Holy They captured this image of a black hole in 2022, and it was so similar to what they predicted in Interstellar. Who's done it like that? Tell me right now who's done something like that, please. Crazy. Nolan is already crazy meticulous and very skilled at communicating every detail to the audience, but when you add all this scientific logic in the mix, your jaw's just on the floor and it's going to stay there, okay? One detail that I didn't get until years later was the ticking noise you hear on Miller's planet.
Go, 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 go! 7 years per hour here. Let's make it count.
There's all this time dilation business going on where basically 1 hour on that planet is 7 years Earth time, and the ticking you hear occurs every 1.25 seconds, which is supposed to be a single day on Earth's time. And I don't even know who the figured that out. I wish I could credit them, but really it's also Christopher Nolan who deserves the praise because he came up with that. He put that very over the head detail in the film, and yeah, No surprise though, because it's Christopher Nolan. He's that guy. He's that guy. I would go to war for Christopher Nolan. I'm not even kidding. At number 3, we've got the music, if we're being completely honest. The high tension scenes and even some of the mundane ones would not be as remotely impressive as they are without the soundtrack, which was orchestrated by the one and only wizard, Hans Zimmer, okay? And we all know Hans Zimmer is gonna cook up a storm, okay? But the soundtrack for Interstellar is insane. It's literally drenched with so much emotion. It's so visceral that even if you listen to it on its own, you literally feel as though you're experiencing the film in your head. Okay? Another thing I generally love about Christopher Nolan is that most of the music for his films are entirely original. So not only do they complete the films, but they're always bangers. Like always. Always. If you saw how much of my playlist is literally just Hans Zimmer and Ludwig Göransson soundtracks, you'd be disgusted with me. Okay? Don't give me the aux at the party, because if you're not ready to hear The Wormhole or Stay or Dreaming of the Crash or Can You Hear the Music from Oppenheimer, then don't give me the aux, okay? Reason number 4 is the story itself and the world building. The story is amazing and inspiring, quite frankly, for a lot of reasons I already talked about. It meshes science fiction with reality, and it very intimately explores the human condition and our capacity for endurance, even if it's in the name of love, which, yes, it's corny, but you know, when you're watching it, it doesn't feel that way at all. And although it's predominantly a science fiction film, there's also a lot of subtext about faith and how rewarding it can be to put your trust into something greater than yourself, which we see, spoiler, when Cooper and his daughter Murphy reunite at the end. Now, as for the world building, it's ridiculous, okay? The world within Interstellar is so extensive, and all the fine details that go into molding the story and making it as visually, auditorily, and logically real as possible just blow my mind. Oh my gosh. For one, there's Earth, right? And again, we've got the dust storms and all this secrecy with NASA, which makes sense in the context of the film because NASA is tasked with secretly trying to find a habitable planet. There's all these details that make the dust storm and the, dying world scenario very, very realistic, and you have to remember that a lot of this is practical effects, okay? But then we also see the wormhole, we see Miller's planet, we see Man's planet, we see Edmund's planet, the Tesseract, which is the most impressive constructed space I've ever seen, and then there's also Cooper Station orbiting around Saturn. All of these different locations have their own very specific qualities, whether it be geographical, ecological, or physics-based, and Nolan does such a great job at constructing these worlds and also putting forward all the necessary details to cue us in and immerse us within the different locations, okay, which blow my mind. Jaw on the floor, I've gone blind. I basically die every time I watch this film. And at number 5, we've got multiple things, but I feel as though they're one in the same, so I'm going to just conjoin them. So we've got emotional impact, the well-written characters, and the actors who brought these characters to life. In terms of the emotional aspect of the film, it goes way beyond Cooper and Murphy's very complicated relationship. We've also got all these other, nuanced characters like Dr. Man, who sabotages Cooper. I have sympathy even for him, even though he's like evil, because, he's been isolated all this time. I don't even know how long he's been on his own up in space, but what would happen to anybody in that situation? You're gonna lose it, right? We've also got Romilly, who was done the dirtiest and died by the hands of Dr. Man. Very sad. And then we've got Professor Bran, who sends these researchers and astronauts into space knowing that they're essentially abandoning Earth, which is not what Cooper signed up for. Professor Bran also sent his own daughter Amelia up in space, and she had some equation for gravity to like help people get off of Earth when it's time, when they figure out which planet is habitable, whatever. Her father knew that that was never going to work, and he didn't tell her. He just sent her up there. Like, that's nuts, okay? And also the film score is also very powerful in this regard because it really enhanced the emotional aspect of these personal and collective conflicts in the film. And then the actors all just do a fantastic job at bringing their characters to life. Matthew McConaughey, oh my god, Murph, don't let me leave, Murph.
Don't let me leave, Murph.
Crazy, too sad. When he's driving the truck and he thinks Murph's like hiding in the car and then she's not, oh my gosh. When he's video chatting with Murph in space, oh my god. Everyone else was really great too, but this is my favorite Matthew McConaughey performance. Jessica Chastain, I don't know who the little girl was who played Murphy, but she was really good. I don't like child actors that much, but she was excellent. But yeah, if you ask me, I think Interstellar definitely holds up after 10 years. For me at least, it doesn't get boring at all. Like, not one bit. And that may be the case with all Christopher Nolan films, because each time you watch them, it's like deciphering a really sophisticated puzzle. But with Interstellar in particular, it's so intense. The soundtrack is so good, and even though I don't understand all the science, it's so good that it makes me want to understand. It's very similar to Oppenheimer, which had me trying to understand how nuclear fission reaction works. I still don't understand, but that's what these films do. They immerse you in these insane stories and expand your worldview as a result. Every time I watch Interstellar, I feel like a changed person. I feel more hopeful and more optimistic about humanity, and I feel inspired to make a grand sacrifice in the name of love like Cooper, okay? But yeah, as crazy as it is, Interstellar is not Christopher Nolan's best film. You'd probably think otherwise with how I'm talking about it and hyping it up, but I did the math based on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, Letterboxd, and Google reviews to figure out the general ranking of Nolan films, and surprisingly, Interstellar is the 5th best Nolan film out of 12. And I personally don't agree with this list here, although my top 5 is basically the same as the normal ranking. I would probably just swap around a few films. And not like anyone really cares, but I'm gonna tell you anyways. Inception is number 1 for me because it's seriously the craziest film I've ever watched, next to Revenge of the Sith. The screenplay is also insane. And number 2, I'd put Oppenheimer because also the screenplay is pretty fucking crazy. It is really complicated, but the fact that it is made into a movie is so impressive. And then at number 3, I'd put Interstellar. At number 4, I'd put The Dark Knight. I just finished watching the Dark Knight trilogy, and you know, it's just nuts. Pretty nuts. And then at number 5, I'd put Memento. If you guys have never seen Interstellar, this should be your wake-up call to crawl the out of the rock you live under. Because it's been 10 years, babe. It's time, okay? It's time to enlighten yourself. And if you don't understand what's going on, guess what? Me neither. I never understand a Christopher Nolan film the first time around, but I know it's because he's way too clever and that all the details probably went over my head, which is definitely the case with Interstellar. It's probably one of his most intellectual films ever made. The fact that most of the stuff that he wrote in the movie is based on real science and real physics and astrophysics is beyond me. If there's any film you should watch at least once in your life, I'd say watch Interstellar. It is gut-wrenching, but very cool at the same time, okay? Like, I feel more human after I watch Interstellar. It literally grounds me and reminds me that, oh, I'm not mysterious and emo like I like to think I am. I'm a person who's a part of humanity, and we all have the drive to survive, and we all have the capacity for love, okay? I know that's nothing special. I know that's not a big eureka moment, but when you're feeling those emotions, especially after watching a film, it's powerful. It's like a high. It makes you feel like you're high. I watch Interstellar and then I feel like I just did crack. I literally have never done crack, but I'd imagine that exhilaration I'm feeling is what crack is like, okay? When I watch Oppenheimer, I feel like I'm on Quaaludes. I don't know what Quaaludes is like, but I watched The Wolf of Wall Street and that's the impression I get. I love Oppenheimer. I was Oppenheimer 2023 Halloween, and nobody knew what I was. Everyone thought I was a businessman. It was really embarrassing, but I endured because Christopher Nolan. And he's such a humble guy too, which is really crazy because imagine if that were you. Wouldn't your head be so big? I feel as though if I were Christopher Nolan, I would turn evil. Like, I would become crazy, like how you see people in Hollywood. I get it. I get why those people are crazy, because imagine you are actually very talented, although not everybody in Hollywood is, but imagine you're talented like Christopher Nolan, and you're humble still. That's nuts. If I made Interstellar, please don't ever talk to me. I'm not a regular civilian. I'm blessed by the gods, okay? I don't even know. Did I answer the question of why Interstellar's good? I hope I did. Interstellar's good. It's clever. It's amazing. It makes my heart go lub-dub, lub-dub. Is that how the heart goes? It makes me want to learn science. That's the impact it has. And this is from somebody who does not like science very much, okay? But yeah, happy birthday, Interstellar. You're 10 years old. I love you so much, Interstellar, and Christopher Nolan, thank you for making us all a little bit smarter and a little bit more empathetic with your films. I love you so much. If you ever see this, which you probably won't, because I feel like you don't, I know that you don't even use the internet, but maybe I'll record this on a CD and mail it to your house. I love you, Christopher Nolan. I would go to war for you. If you became a Canadian citizen and then became Prime Minister, I would go to war for you. Good night, good morning, good night, whatever it is for you. I hope you have seen Interstellar. If you haven't, jail. Go to jail, go to jail, go to jail. Anyways,
bye.